In a world that refuses to quiet down, most of us take our stress to bed like a second blanket. Heavy, stifling, and difficult to shake off. We live in an era of perpetual noon, where blue light and constant connectivity convince our biological systems that the day never truly ends. As we lay in the dark, the silence becomes a megaphone for our anxieties. We replay awkward conversations with the precision of a film editor, worry about the mountain of unread emails waiting in tomorrow's inbox, and wonder why sleep has become a chore to be managed rather than a restorative rest to be enjoyed. This nocturnal turbulence isn't just a modern inconvenience, it is a sign of an unexamined life. When we fail to consciously close the day, our minds remain in a state of high alert, fruitlessly trying to solve problems that can only be addressed in the light of tomorrow. Stoicism offers a 2,000-year-old antidote to this mental clutter, the art of closing the day with deliberate intention. This isn't merely a relaxation technique, it is a spiritual hygiene practice used by emperors and slaves alike. By adopting a Stoic evening ritual, you learn to draw a firm line between what has passed and what is yet to come. You don't just sleep better, you ensure that when the sun rises, you wake up not as a victim of your circumstances, but as the master of your own mind. You move from the chaos of doing into the tranquility of being, reclaiming the peace that is rightfully yours. The transition from the frantic energy of the workday to the supposed sanctuary of the bedroom has become one of the most fraught experiences of the 21st century. In theory, the evening should be a natural descent into stillness, a biological winding down that mimics the setting sun. In reality, for most of us, it is a jarring, chaotic leap from a high-speed digital highway into a dark room where the engine of our mind refuses to stop idling. We find ourselves caught in the midnight replay, a cycle of intrusive thoughts where the silence of the night acts as a megaphone for every insecurity, regret, and pending task we ignored during the day. The anatomy of discursus. The Stoics had a specific term for this mental fragmentation, discursus. It describes a mind that flits from one thing to another, never settling, never finding a centre. Seneca, the great Stoic advisor, warned that to be everywhere is to be nowhere. In the modern context, discursus is our default state. We spend our evenings multitasking our relaxation, scrolling through news feeds while a show plays in the background, our thumbs moving instinctively while our brains process a cocktail of outrage, envy, and information overload. When we finally put the phone down and turn off the light, we expect the brain to instantly shift into sleep mode. But the mind doesn't work like a light switch. It works like a massive ocean liner. It requires miles of distance to slow down and change course. Because we haven't provided that distance, the momentum of the day carries over into the night. The subconscious audit. The core of the problem lies in a lack of deliberate processing. Throughout the day, we experience thousands of micro-impressions, a sharp comment from a boss, a worrying headline, a missed deadline, or an awkward social interaction. Because we are busy, we push these impressions into a mental basement, promising to deal with them later. When the external noise finally stops at 11:01 p.m., the subconscious audit begins. Without a conscious system to filter these experiences, your brain takes the wheel. It begins to sort through the day's debris in a disorganized, panicked fashion. This is why you find yourself suddenly remembering a task you forgot 3 days ago, or cringing at a sentence you uttered at lunch. The Stoics understood that the mind abhors a vacuum of meaning. If you do not provide an objective framework for your day's events, your subconscious will provide a subjective, emotional one. This manifests as anticipatory anxiety, worrying about the ghost of tomorrow, the events that haven't happened yet but are already being grieved. The shame loop, reliving the ghost of yesterday, ruminating on things that are now outside your sphere of influence. Physical restlessness, the tired but wired phenomenon where the body is exhausted, but the nervous system is stuck in a fight or flight response. The tyranny of the second blanket. We aren't just physically tired, we are mentally cluttered. This clutter acts as a second blanket, a heavy, invisible weight of psychological unfinished business. In the ancient world, the boundaries between day and night were enforced by nature. When the sun went down, the work stopped. Today those boundaries have evaporated. Work follows us home in our pockets. Social expectations follow us into our beds via notifications. We have lost the threshold ritual, the moment where we leave the world's problems at the door. Without a Stoic intervention, we remain in a state of cognitive leaking. The stress of Tuesday leaks into Wednesday's sleep, which then leaks into Thursday's performance. We become reactive rather than proactive. We're no longer living our lives, we're simply surviving the backlog of our own thoughts. The problem isn't just a lack of sleep, it's a lack of closure. We're going to bed with our mental tabs still open, and the processor is overheating. To find rest, we must learn to close the programs, save the data, and shut down the system with the precision of a philosopher. To bridge the gap between the frantic midnight replay and a state of deep restorative sleep, we must build a bridge made of structure and discipline. The Stoics didn't view sleep as a passive accident that happens to us. They viewed it as a final act of the day that required as much virtue as the morning's first task. By integrating these three pillars, we move from being victims of our racing minds to architects of our own tranquility. Pillar 1. Physical deceleration, the preparation of the soul. Seneca, in his letters, often wrote about the necessity of withdrawing from the world to find oneself. He viewed sleep as the image of death, not in a morbid sense, but as a total cessation of the day's struggles. If sleep is a rehearsal for a state of total non-striving, our environment must reflect that. In the modern world, our nervous system is constantly bombarded by threat signals. Blue light from screens mimics the high noon sun, suppressing melatonin and keeping our cortisol levels spiked. To the Stoic, using a smartphone in bed is an act of self-imposed slavery. You're allowing the entire world, news, trolls, and work demands into your most private sanctuary. The practice. The digital sunset. At least 60 minutes before bed, declare an end to inputs. This is the physical manifestation of the Stoic inner citadel. By putting the phone in another room, you are guarding the gates of your mind. Sensory diminishing. Lower the lights and reduce the temperature. These are biological cues that tell the animal part of your brain that the hunt is over and the camp is safe. Ritual cleaning. Even the act of washing your face or brushing your teeth can be transformed into a Stoic ritual of washing away the day's grime, both physical and metaphorical. Pillar 2. The review, the objective examination of conscience. Epictetus, the former slave turned philosopher, taught that the key to progress is the nightly audit. He famously asked his students to never allow sleep to close their eyes until they had reviewed the day's actions 3 times. Crucially, this is not an exercise in self-guilt or shaming. The Stoic aims to be an objective observer, like a scientist reviewing data from an experiment. If you did something poorly, you note it so you can avoid it tomorrow. If you did something well, you acknowledge it to reinforce the habit. The 3 questions of the audit. 1. Where did I go wrong? Did you lose your temper? Did you succumb to a craving? Identify the moment you lost your ruling faculty. 2. What did I do well? Where did you show courage? Did you choose a healthy meal? Did you speak kindly when you wanted to be sharp? Acknowledge your small victories to build moral momentum. 3. What duty did I leave undone? This isn't just about work tasks. Did you fail to check on a friend? Did you neglect your own need for quiet? By naming these, you move them from vague anxiety to a to-do list for tomorrow, effectively clearing them from your active mental RAM. Pillar 3. The view from above, the cosmic perspective. One of the most powerful Stoic hacks for stress is the view from above. Most of our nighttime stress comes from cognitive tunnel vision. We are so close to our problems, the broken car, the rude email, the mounting debt, that they appear to be the size of mountains. The view from above is a meditative exercise where you mentally zoom out. You start by seeing yourself in your room, then your city, then your country, then the planet, and finally the vast, silent expanse of the universe. The psychological shift. From this height, your mountainous problems shrink to their actual size, tiny specks. You realize that billions of people have felt this exact stress before you, and billions will feel it after you're gone. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius used this to remind himself that most of what we worry about is ephemeral and worthless in the grand span of time. This doesn't mean your problems don't matter, it means they are manageable. By shrinking the ego, you shrink the stress. You realize that you're a small part of a vast interlocking whole, the logos. This cosmic perspective replaces the frantic self with the philosophical self, allowing the nervous system to finally settle into a state of profound perspective. The synergy of the pillars. When combined, these three pillars create a decompression chamber. Physical deceleration settles the body. The review settles the mind. The view from above settles the soul. You're no longer trying to go to sleep. You're creating a state of existence where sleep is the natural and inevitable consequence of a day well concluded. You have processed the past, prepared for the future, and gained perspective on the present. The true climax of the Stoic evening isn't found in the act of falling asleep, but in the final decisive stroke of a pen. It occurs during the journaling session, a ritual that serves as a spiritual handover. This is the moment you stop carrying your life and start observing it. By articulating your thoughts, you perform a psychological extraction, moving the heavy, chaotic energy of the day from the delicate tissue of your brain onto the solid, unfeeling surface of the paper. The extraction of the externals. In Stoic philosophy, the world is divided into two spheres: what is up to us, our thoughts, intentions, and actions, and what is not up to us, everything else. Throughout the day, we tend to fuse these two categories together. We treat a colleague's bad mood as if it were our own fault. We treat a delayed flight as if it were a personal attack from the universe. The mental dump is the process of disentangling these spheres. When you sit down to write, you are performing a triage of the soul. You look at the worry that has been gnawing at your stomach, perhaps a fear of an upcoming performance review, and you write it down. In the act of writing, you label it for what it is, an external. You cannot control the opinion of your boss, but you can control your preparation. This is where the export happens. Neurologically, the brain is designed to loop unresolved problems in the prefrontal cortex to ensure we don't forget them. This is the root of nighttime anxiety. By writing it down, you send a signal to your nervous system. The data is saved, it is recorded. You no longer need to hold it in active memory. You are literally offloading the cognitive load. The death of the second blanket. As you continue to write, the second blanket of stress begins to thin. The abstract looming monsters of the day are reduced to simple sentences. Everything is going wrong becomes, I am frustrated by the 3-hour delay in the project. I'm failing at my life becomes, I neglected my exercise routine today. By giving these feelings a name and a boundary, you reclaim your power over them. The climax of this session is the realization that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing the thoughts on the paper. This distance is the inner citadel that Marcus Aurelius wrote about, a place where the storms of the world cannot reach you. The realization, the day is now complete. There comes a specific moment during this practice, often marked by a deep involuntary sigh, where the realization hits, the day is now complete. In our modern, high-achievement culture, we are taught that the day is only done when the to-do list is empty. But a to-do list is never truly empty. A Stoic, however, defines the end of the day by the end of their effort. Once the sun sets and the journal is closed, you have entered a no-man's land of time. Whether the day was good or bad, according to the world's standards, is now irrelevant. You have survived the trials, you have faced the impressions, you have extracted the lessons. Like a merchant closing the ledger at the end of business hours, you draw a double line under the day's events. You're no longer a participant in the world's drama, you are a retired observer. Granting amnesty to the self. The most transformative part of this climax is the concept of philosophical amnesty. We are often our own harshest jailers. We take our mistakes to bed and whip ourselves with them until 3 a.m. The Stoic mental dump ends with a radical act of self-forgiveness, not out of laziness but out of logic. You cannot change the past hour any more than you can change the trajectory of the stars. To worry about a past mistake is to wish for the impossible. By writing, I failed to be patient today, I will try again tomorrow, you grant yourself permission to rest. You acknowledge that you are a Procopton, a person making progress, rather than a perfect sage. You allow the old you, the version of you that lived today, to die with the day, so that the new you can be born in the morning. The silence of the Vixi. Seneca suggested that at the end of this routine, we should be able to say to ourselves, Vixi, I have lived. This doesn't mean I have done everything perfectly. It means I have shown up, I have done my duty as best as I could, and I have accepted what I could not change. In this state of amnesty, the brain finally receives the all-clear signal. The heart rate slows, the muscle tension in the jaw releases, and the frantic midnight replay is replaced by a profound, heavy silence. You aren't just exhausted, you are clear. You're ready to enter the image of death, sleep, with a conscience that is as empty and peaceful as a freshly wiped chalkboard. The climax isn't an explosion of energy. It is the sudden, beautiful absence of noise. The final movement of the Stoic night routine is a transition from the active world of the doer to the silent world of the being. It is here that you utter the most powerful word in the Stoic lexicon, vixi, I have lived. This isn't a boast of achievement or a tally of productivity. It is a declaration of presence and completion. By systematically reviewing your actions and accepting your human limitations, you enter sleep without the moral debt of unfinished emotional business that keeps so many awake. Most people today do not truly go to bed. They simply collapse into it, defeated by the day's demands and dragging a heavy chain of what-ifs and if-onlys behind them. Their sleep is an escape, a desperate unconsciousness meant to drown out the noise. In contrast, the Stoic retires. To retire is an act of dignity. It is the conscious choice to step back from the front lines of life because you have fought a good fight and earned your recovery. By practicing this routine, you transform your bedroom from a theatre of anxiety into a sanctuary of perspective. You realize that sleep is not a luxury or a lapse in discipline. It is a necessary part of the natural order. You close your eyes with the quiet confidence of someone who is right with themselves. You have extracted the wisdom from the day's struggles and surrendered the rest to the cosmos. Tonight, you aren't just sleeping. You are resting in the profound peace of a soul that knows it has done enough. The transformation from a restless mind to a stoic one starts with a single, deliberate choice. Tonight, before you reach for your phone in bed, grab a notebook instead. Resist the digital void. Write down just 3 things that went well today and 1 thing you would do differently tomorrow. Close your day with intention, not a scroll. If this routine helped you find clarity, hit the like button and subscribe for more ancient wisdom for modern life. Comment Vixi below to commit to your first night of stoic rest. Sleep well and wake up stronger.